Now you reach my age. I'm 70. I'm single at the moment, but whether I'm single or partnered, I don't often have as much need to frequently have sex with whoever I'm seeing or dating. It doesn't drive me the way it once did. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a sexual being. I still have horniness. It happens at certain times. But it slows. It's like a lower burning candle. Hi, this is Mike Balaban. Welcome to another episode of BAMMER Talks. Today, I'd like to address the topic of sex and how it changes as we get older. First of all, I'm not sure I'm going to do this topic justice. It may not be the most articulate or polished of those I've given, but I want to take a stab at it because I think people deserve to understand what is facing them, and based on my own personal experience and the anecdotal evidence of that testimony I've heard from friends, that sex continues right up until the end of our lives, despite what may be a popular misconception. When we are teenagers, I'm going to talk about boys because that's what I know. We get a surge of testosterone around the time we enter puberty. And we have these hormones flowing through us, and we discover masturbation, and it's an exciting new toy, and we overuse it. At least most of us do. And then somewhere in our teens, probably today and in the 20s when I was growing up, we discover sex with another human being. And leaving aside the whole issue of having to face coming out and accepting that you are attracted to others of your same sex and any issues of gender dysphoria that may occur, etc. We start to pair off. We start to find partners. They may be for momentary interludes, one-night stands, quickies in the back of a car. They may be longer. Maybe they become our boyfriend and we have an affair or for 6 months or a year, and we learn how to interrelate personally and emotionally as well as to have sex with another human being. But typically we are driven by those hormonal urges and we rush through it. We are paying attention to the physical pleasure and not so much the emotional connection in most cases, and probably not as attentive to our partner's needs as we could be. But as we get older, and sex no longer is a new, fresh toy that we are using with abandon, we also become caught up in life, the stress, the travails, the challenges, the things which keep us occupied and our attention spans elsewhere. And sex has to be fit into our lives at different moments and places with different people. And then we may discover love. But it is almost inexorable that as we get older, the pace at which we have sex, the frequency with which we have sex, slows down. And that's a natural development. But at the same time, there's a comparable counter development. We start to be more aware of what we're doing. Our technique improves. We pay more attention to the quality and not so much the quantity of the pleasure. We are more thoughtful and attentive to the needs of whoever is our partner. And they benefit from that. Now, I've heard anecdotally that friends of mine who date younger men obviously love the energy and the enthusiasm and the capacity to go several times in an evening of their young partners. And I've heard from some younger men I know who date exclusively older men that they can't get enough of the attention to their needs and the consideration and thoughtfulness, as well as advanced techniques that older men have usually developed by the time they have sex with these guys. So those are kind of the trade-offs. You lose the capacity to have sex as much, but you gain the ability to have better sex. Now you reach my age. I'm 70. I'm single at the moment, but whether I'm single or partnered, I don't often have as much need to frequently have sex with whoever I'm seeing or dating. It doesn't drive me the way it once did. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a sexual being. I still have horniness. It happens at certain times. But it slows. It's like a lower burning candle. And when I'm separate, as I am now, or even sometimes when I'm partnered, masturbation is a constant factor in my life. I think it's a healthy outlet. We learn it at an early age. It's always there as a trusty accomplice if we need it. And sometimes when you're extremely stressed or just, I don't know, need to take something off your mind, jerking off, wanking off, pulling your pug, whatever you want to call it, is a really pleasurable way to pass time. I do it still at this age, probably every day, sometimes every other day. On a rare occasion, 2 or 3 times in a day if I've really got something eating at me. And I want to talk about the end of life sexual urges. My friend Edward Field, who's 98 now, I interviewed him when he was 95 3 years ago for my podcast series. Edward's an amazing human being. He was a World War II Air Force navigator for the U.S. Air Force and flew 28 bombing missions over Nazi Germany. Crash landed 5 times while he was flying, and one of those occurred in the middle of winter in the North Sea, where he had 25 minutes to avoid hypothermia. And he's only alive today because someone else gave up his spot in the raft, which couldn't accommodate another human being so that Edward could get in, and that person died. Edward is a world-renowned poet and author, and his poems often have an erotic strain to them. And he used to lecture on the circuit at colleges to kids. And some of the readings that he would give from his work were sexual. And some of these young kids would get grossed out at the thought of this 90-year-old guy having sex. And eventually he stopped giving those lectures because nobody likes to face that kind of reaction. But when I met him at 95, I asked him, "What's your sex life like today, or your sexual drive?" He had just lost his partner of 58 years 2 years before, and he was sad about that, of course. But Edward is an upbeat soul and has lots of friends and is doing fine. And he admitted to me that at 95, he was jerking off every day or so to photos of his late partner that had been taken of him in the nude in his 20s, and it still gave him the pleasure and the solace, and he needed that in his life. So I think anybody listening to this who's at a younger age, maybe you're grossed out by this prospect too, but I think you ought to be thrilled and invigorated to know that no matter how long you live, you'll always have a sexual drive and you'll always be able to realize it. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been educational. This is Mike Balaban, and you've listened to another BAMMER Talk. Please stay tuned for future episodes. Follow and subscribe to our page. Like these podcasts if you enjoy them, and please post some questions and comments so we can create a community here, just as I have on my Instagram page. Thank you very much. Goodbye. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube page and sign up for notifications of future upcoming episodes. You can also be part of the BAMMER community by going to my Instagram page at BAMMER47, to follow me on our podcast episode series, BAMMER and Me, or going to our website, BAMMER.co, with stories submitted by LGBTQ people around the world. Thanks again. See you soon. Bye.